So Sheridan joined the Down to Business podcast today, and we really talked about all things that he is involved in, but particularly Martin&Stella LLC and how his moving and transportation company is unlike any other, not only just in North Carolina, but across the United States, and why it may be coming to an area near you very soon. But on top of that, he really just got into a lot of his other involvements, a lot of his other activities, but really dropped a lot of free game from, figuring out how he really wanted to come into business, what he really wanted to do right away, to even, having a medical background and really, studying that and going to school for that. But then the transition that he made and how he was able to get into the space and the industry that he's in, and really just how his mind works, how, most people may come into business thinking about one thing, thinking about, how to lay their ducks in a row and everything like that. But he's thinking so long term, he's thinking so futuristic, and he kind of gives us an inside look into that process. So without further ado, enjoy episode 97, A Powerful Pivot.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. And whenever I can get an ECU link up, whenever I can get some folks on here, man, that are really doing good things that I was able to meet, my collegiate days and things like that, but then go on to still, not only better themselves, but even impact the lives of others. I love that. So really excited to be sitting down today with my man Sheridan, just because he was somebody who, we definitely tapped in at ECU. We definitely were. We knew each other. We were cordial, seeing each other and things like that. But I would say that we definitely really never tapped in from like a business mindset perspective. Like never really kind of, picked each other's brains in that regard, just because of how we acquainted with one another. Really nothing wrong with that. But now, to be able to bring one of his boys on, Vic, and really talk to Vic about what he had going on and just see a lot of the moves and things that Vic is doing. And then now to be able to follow up with him and see, from afar and just from going through his page and things like that from what he's doing, but really excited, for him to give y'all a little further deeper dive into what he was doing. And possibly, y'all may even be able to utilize some of his services when it's all said and done. So Sheridan, how you doing today, bro?
Hey, I'm feeling blessed and I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I can never complain. It's definitely a good day, man. It was a good weekend for sure. So for the people out there tapping in, we obviously going to get a host of different people. Some people who are going to know you, some people who are going to know me, some people who are probably going to know both of us at the same time. So can you, one, just tell us a little bit about yourself? And then two, can you just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Sheridan. I'm the CEO of Martin&Stella LLC, and we are a transportation company. Excuse me. Sorry, I got my retainers in. If I sound a little weird, but we're a transportation company, and we specialize in residential and commercial moving. But we do so much more than that. What brought me on the podcast was, Tamar, always watching your podcast, seeing how business oriented it is, but also wanting to give free game. And I'm huge on communication and networking, man. Anytime I can watch something that's going to give me some game, shed some light on something that whether I know it or don't know it, I'm always down to watch that or contribute to that. So, that's what I'm here for, to spread some light, spread some love, and get some game.
I love that, man. I found myself kind of entering my more mature years, kind of getting older when I really started to, get on social media or get on different websites. But I want the content that's, like you said, that informative, that free game, that informational, those things where, where I used to get on. Obviously, you still love the funny videos. You still love to catch the news and here and there. But now when I'm looking for different, just quotes or different gems or ways to start the day, just those little videos that you can watch on the Instagram story of just like interviews and clips and stuff like that, it really does resonate and speak with me a lot. So, okay, touching on Martin&Stella from the rip. Love that. You said, one, that this was something that you do with the services that you offer, but how y'all extend and really go so much above and beyond that. So what really got the wheels turning to really get this started? What was your involvement before actually starting this LLC that kind of made you want to enter this particular lane?
For sure. So just give you a little bit more background about me for people that don't really know me. So I actually have a medical background. So I got my bachelor's in molecular biology. After that, I got my master's in biomedicine. After that, I became a certified pharmaceutical manufacturer. So my background's in science, and I got that from my parents. My parents have always been business mindset. They both actually own their own businesses, thank God. And then, on the flip side, they're also involved in science. My dad actually has a biology degree from Campbell, and my mom, she owns an in-home healthcare agency. So they're both of those dealing in the science field. I've always been interested in business, even though my background's in science. So while I was in school, I actually ended up working for this moving company. and I'm not gonna plug them in since it's my, I'm here. No, playing. But so I work for an extremely, good moving company, and what made them different was basically that their dynamic was really student focused, and so that's how they were able to grab people and market themselves. I ended up, meeting the owner and basically talking to him. And this was man 10 years ago. But I tell people all the time, speak to as many people as you can, whether they're in your field or they're not in your field, because you never know when you're going to need that skill, right? Almost 10 years ago, I didn't know that I would need that necessary skill from that conversation that me and the guy had. But that kind of sparked my interest with me working for that moving company. And it's weird to say that sparked my interest for me working for a moving company, but I've always the type of person where I think ahead, or I think about. I would say that I love being a kind of a glorified fixer. Like I love seeing things and seeing how I can make it better and incorporating that. Um, yeah, so after ECU, I actually got into med school, but I quickly realized that it wasn't for me just based on my personality. I am a very I like being on the move. I like going from one place to another. And in that field, you kind of have to be where you are, right? You kind of have to be set in stone. Obviously, you can multitask and network with a bunch of people in that scenario, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a clinic. But I'm the type of person where I get a little anxious if I'm in one place for too long, man. If I'm sitting down for 4 hours, 10 hours, I get a little too anxious. So, after getting into med school, for me, it was an accomplishment because I realized that part of me was doing it for my parents. And I bring this up because I feel like a lot of people go through this where they go to college for something that they may like and love, but a big reason why they're doing it is for their parents. And being from an immigrant background, which I am, I'm Nigerian. Most immigrant families only see a couple of things like success, whether it's, a doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? But we live in a society and age now where you can make money from anything, video games, you can sell, anything. You could do lashes. And, I feel like, and it's nothing against our parents of, first generation immigrants. It's nothing against them, but they also didn't realize that coming here, it was more opportunity than just direct opportunity, which is school, and what you go into your field is what you're going to do. So going back to what I was saying is, after I got in, I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, like, is this really what I want to do? And I feel like a lot of people need to have that conversation with themselves. Don't be scared to not do what you thought you were going to do at first, because your life is long, right? Hopefully you can do so much within your lifespan and you don't have to put yourself in a box. So I knew that I loved science, but it's something that I wanted to do more so in the back end of my life, because I want to move back to my country and open up a clinic and do all these things that are science focused. And it's great that I have the background, right? So after that, after ECU, I decided, let me just get my master's while I figure things out. So I got my master's in biomedicine. But as I was getting my master's in biomedicine, I was also doing a little bit of reaching out as far as, let me test the waters. When I was getting my master's, I actually thought about the moving thing, and I said, I tell people all the time, test the waters. It doesn't necessarily have to be, now don't do bad business, but you don't necessarily have to have your LLC to test the waters just to see, is there a market for something? I think a lot of people hold themselves back because they feel like, oh, it has to be an official business, LLC, a S Corp, an INC, where it's, no, test the waters. Have your contracts drawn up. You don't have to be a lawyer to write up a contract and have somebody sign it, right? So that's what I did. While getting my master's, I actually went ahead and just advertised on simple sites like Craigslist that people don't even realize that you could take advantage of, or this site or that site. And I remember throwing it on there, and the original first name of my company was Student Movers. That was the first name, right? And so I threw it on there, and the first week somebody hit me up, hey, we're looking to move from here to here. Bear in mind, I didn't have a moving truck. Bear in mind, I didn't have no people to help me. But I tell people all the time, that shouldn't stop you. Sorry if y'all see some sunlight. I'm near a window, but that shouldn't stop you from executing the play, right? Because realistically, you can always find the people. You just have to, lock in that contract, that deal. But you can always find people to do something, right? Especially if you pay very well. And that's something I quickly learned is paying people well goes a long way. a very long way. So right when I got that, I was able to make some calls. And at that time, I didn't know anybody with a moving truck, right? So I said, Google, said Penske, U-Haul. So okay, so I called up. I said, hey, can I get one of your, they told me how much the price was. And this is the game for people now. Before you get your own stuff, you can call businesses, industries that already have this, get their price, then call the person that you want to help you, get their price, then factor that in to your customer price. Very easy. You've already took care of all the little intricacies, and now you got your profit that you already know. So I did that. It went very well. I drove the truck. It wasn't a big truck. I think it was like a 16-foot truck, and it went well. And that was the first spark in my mind. Like, wait, hold on, that wasn't that bad. I've always been very fit. I've always been kind of like a workout junkie. So doing labor is something that doesn't, I grew up the only child, but I had to wash the dishes, I had to cut the grass, I had to do all these things. So I grew up doing labor, and I also am not a very prideful person or have a crazy ego. I feel like, and it's weird with our generation too, I feel like a lot of people look down on labor jobs for some weird reason. But if you think about it, the labor jobs are the ones that are making the most money, right? The most money. And weirdly enough, if you do the research, labor jobs, people are actually a lot happier. A lot happier. Not saying people that work in the science field aren't happy, but when you're able to work with your hands, when you're able to move left and right and kind of be in different pockets, it kind of works your mind a little bit more, as far as, the longevity of your happiness. Being in one spot often makes people feel stuck, often makes people feel, anxious, depressive. So, fast forward. After that, I was like, okay. After my master's, I said, you know, I was in a spot that a lot of people are in, which is having the educational background, but not necessarily knowing how to execute or where you want to execute. So you can have this science background, but you don't know, do you want to be in this field? Do you want to, like, do I want to be a doctor in this hospital? Do I want to just have a private clinic? Do I want to, you know what I'm saying? So bigger in that pocket, it took me some time because I feel like inside of my heart, I always knew I really want to do business versus science at first. And again, that's just based on my personality, just to how I am, always being on the move, loving being busy. So, of course, with having the immigrant parents, and anyone that has immigrant parents can relate, they're gonna ask you, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? They're gonna say, "What you doing? You can't just be sitting in my house and not doing something. You gotta be doing something." So that's what made me go back to school after my master's, and become a pharmaceutical manufacturer. Basically, what that means is, being able to validate pharmaceutical manufacturing equipment, being able to, legally make these pharmaceutical drugs, and also, going to these facilities and making sure that they are, validated well, making sure that the airspace is perfect and the doors are tight, not allowing any, things or viruses to creep in and out. And that interested me because, again, like I said in the beginning, I love to learn. I love soaking up every game, and it doesn't matter to me whether I need it now or not. I tell people all the time, you're going to need information sometime. It doesn't have to be now, but you will need it sometime. So why not learn as much as you can? So from that came me sitting down one day and thinking to myself, I want to be a CEO. I want to be a business owner. And a lot of people need to realize that speaking something is very, very powerful. Say it to yourself every day. I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be that. Because you start to put yourself in that mindset of, this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to be. So what I did was I did my research. All the moving companies in the area. I tell people that if you're gonna start a business, do your research, because you're not the first person to start that business, most likely. Obviously, there's innovative stuff that happens, but you're probably not the first person. So what separates you, there's a couple things that are always going to separate you. So everyone's out there, this is free game. There's a couple things that are going to separate you right here. Your pricing. People love pricing. Oh, I don't want to spend too much money. I don't want to spend, but also not making it too cheap to where they're like, that's too good to be true. So finding that sweet spot is so important in business. So important in business. Because you're able to, grasp people automatically because they see something like, oh yeah, that's cheaper than that person and they got great reviews. Okay, good. So number one is your pricing, finding that sweet spot. Number two is do not headhunt money. So even though number one was find that sweet spot of money, don't think that you're going to automatically start a business and start winning. The best thing you can do is when you start a business, take your L's when you start off. The worst thing that you can do is take an L 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line. Take them L's starting off and don't be scared to take those L's because that's a learning lesson. You're not losing, you're learning. That's the L, not a loss. You're learning, right? So again, finding that sweet spot, whether it's finding your pricing, number one. Number two, like I said, is not headhunting money because surprisingly, I feel like what boosted my business, it's another free game. I feel like what boosted my business at first, and this is what happens with most business at first, is word of mouth travels faster than anything you can imagine. You guys ever get some great service and you couldn't wait to tell somebody about it? That's what I mean by word of mouth. Word of mouth travels so great, so fast. So that's what blessed me when I first started up my company. Of course, after establishing the LLC, after getting my business insurance, is word of mouth and not being scared. Like I said, guys, to take that L. A lot of times, my first 30 jobs, I wasn't making some crazy money. I wasn't making something extravagant. I was paying my guys really well. I was paying the drivers really well, but I wasn't looking to make, $1 million, $100,000, tens of thousands of dollars. I was looking to get my name out there. And I feel like that's what separates the real from the fake. The real, you want to get your business out there. You're not looking to make $1 billion, $1 million because it's going to come, right? If you believe in yourself, it's going to come. But you want to put yourself out there so people can meet you. Me being the CEO, it's whenever I go to a job, I currently have guys, I currently have trucks, and we'll talk about that later on. But now when I go to job, because I still do jobs myself, even with me being the CEO, I still will pull up to a job and lift stuff with my guys. I will still, do all that stuff, wrap furniture, talk to the customer, and you will be very surprised how many people are shocked when they realize that the CEO of a company is there helping and doing all this stuff, right? So the reason why I bring that up is don't be scared to do this job yourself, right? Don't outsource everything. I outsource a lot of stuff, but I also make sure that there's a lot of stuff that I do myself. So I'm hands-on and people get that work ethic and they see where it comes from. So people are like, they're watching people work, they're watching me work, they're watching my guys work, and they're thinking to themselves, they're doing a great job. At the end, when I introduce myself and I say, hey, I'm the CEO, they look like, oh wow, wow, he trains his guys well. I see where it comes from, right? So they're able to make that point to point connection. So, but yes, that's how I, started in the transportation space, and that's what I'm currently doing, and we're currently expanding. Yes.
Amazing, bro. You hit so many great points from the beginning where you really talked about the importance of just talking to people, the crew, the really just the integral role that networking plays in life in general. It doesn't really have to be from the business perspective, entrepreneurial. It's just in life, like you said.
Oh yeah.
It used to amaze me sometimes just being from ECU to high school to now at my job to even in grad school, just some of the rooms that you walk in and just some of the titles that people have and just how all of these people can be in the same room sometimes. But how I used to make that assumption of, okay, well, if this person is here, if this person does that, it's clear as day that they're the CEO of this or the COO of that, the CFO of this, that's their expertise. That's their knowledge base. No, I was so wrong. You start talking to these people and you realize that it's so extensive, it's so expansive. It's just like, oh, well, I'm thinking that this person, because they're the CFO, well, all they're really doing is finances. All they really do, is handle all the money and things like that.
Hmm.
But they know so much about marketing. They know so much about branding. They know so much
Oh yeah.
about product development and different things like that. So a lot of these people are so well versed. And what you'll find is that people who, like you said, are just hungry for knowledge, hungry for information. They're always on the prowl for more. They always want to learn more because, like you said, you may not need this right then and there. But at some point, product development will be helpful to you. At some point, product development may get your foot in the door and open up an opportunity for you that otherwise, had you not known anything about it, you never know. I think about all the time, how I just go through my Instagram stories, how people are looking for graphic designers, how people are looking for models, photographers. This is just daily. You can just wake up one day and enter. But these are spaces that are open to be entered. Practice makes perfect for sure. It's not anything that you just want to shortcut or even, like you said, to headhunt just for money. But at the end of the day, it's out there.
Oh
These
yeah.
are things that you can take advantage of. These are things that you can learn. I love YouTube University. YouTube will teach you so much about just different things. You get into that rabbit hole and you started off over here, learned about this. 3 hours later, you somewhere totally different and you've amassed so much, just genuine knowledge in that time frame. So I think that that's so important. But something that you also talk about too, bro, was that everything doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, you want to make sure that you don't set yourself up for failure. You think about things, you think about those rainy days, you think about if all hell breaks loose or anything like that. But at the end of the day, you don't have to have these LLCs, these numbers, these bank accounts, the cars, the official documents, contract. And these are things that you can be doing on your own. No, it's not going to be, like you said, you don't need an LLC or you don't need a specific type of program to write a contract. You can open up Microsoft Word, Google Docs, anything like that. You can write your own contract. It may not look exactly like you want it. It may not be on parchment paper. It may not be dotted and crossed how you want it, but that's still a contract. That's still a legal agreement that you can present to somebody to conduct business. That's the same thing that I've told folks in the past when it comes to being on this podcast. There is no ramification. There are no guidelines to having to be on here. I've talked to people who've gone out of business. I've talked to people who are establishing their business. I've talked to people who don't have the LLC. I've talked to people who've had the LLC for years. You get a little bit of everything. At this point, everybody is in a different step on their journey.
Correct.
If you wait for everything to just be so perfect, you pass up opportunities. Because how long is it going to take? It took me, I would say, in some regard, like almost 2 years to start this. This was something that for me I started in 2019, but it really dated back to 2017. I think about how much time that I passed, how much pre-pandemic time that went by. Because having this podcast now in the pandemic, it switched up my whole rhyme. I used to tell people that if I could have it my way, I would be sitting next to people every interview. That's just how I want it. That's just how I like it. But obviously 2019, February, we had different plans, But had I started this in 2017, and who knows where I would have been by the time the pandemic hit. I think about things like this, but I also think about that from business owners, from entrepreneurs, from artists. If you're just so worried about everything just lining up and being perfect, you'll never get to where you want to be. And then what happens when it does line up and it is perfect and you still take an L or things don't go the way you want it to? Because just because you still have things lined up and just because things are official, quote unquote, it still doesn't mean it's going to go your way. If it can go wrong, sometimes it'll go wrong. I say that. I believe that's a whole so true. And then on top of that, bro, you really talked about the idea, because you really talked about it from the trucking perspective, how you didn't have everything right in front of you, but you didn't decline that job. You outsourced. Let me call these folks. It's nothing to rent a truck real quick. Let me figure out what's going on. But then on top of that, you also talk about how you're directly involving yourself in it. And I think that that's so important. I've worked for so many different jobs, so many different companies, just so many different, both labor and non like labor per se. But it's things where you look at kind of your higher ups, or you look at the person who's micromanaging you or telling what you to do. They have no idea what your role is. They can't step into. I've talked to CEOs, COOs.
Yep.
I talk to people who don't know what I do, who
Yep.
don't even know my job title per se. Don't even know how much we get paid. It's this little things like that it's just like, well, why would I want to work for a company like that? Where if we told the CEO to come work for a day, he'll do a lot of things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you're the top dog. In my opinion, you should have worked your way up that totem pole. But a lot of these higher ups, a lot of these people in these positions, they just got in there because of a connection, because of word of mouth, because of family, because of just money, whatever the case may be. So when it comes down to those nitty gritty roles, or when it comes down to those roles, labor or non-labor, they don't know how to do them. And to me, that's a bad, look on the company in a sense. You should know how to do. If you're the CEO of something, I know how to do everything. I'm the CEO of Down to Business Podcast. I know how to do everything with this podcast, though. I know how to edit. I know how to get on here and record. I know how to set up the camera. I know how to publish. I know how to market. I know how to do graphics. I know how to do all of that. Because at the end of the day, when I start to hire people, when we get to that, when I get, assistants and things like that, I can't be telling these people or putting these people in certain positions or micromanaging them or getting upset with things like that. But when it's time for me to step in, I have no clue. So what's
Literally.
the purpose? I'm gonna look foolish, you know. You have to play your role, bro. And I feel like that's not really inclusive of a lot of these companies. But I feel like with companies in your instance, how you do that, bro, it speaks to yourself. Because at the end of the day, yeah, if somebody came to move for me, or somebody did a job for me, or somebody did something for me, and I'm finding out that I'm talking to the owner, I'm gonna look at that totally different, bro. You're not used to seeing that. You're not used to being able to shake hands, make it tangible. Maybe a phone call, maybe an email or something like that. But on the job, doing work just like everybody else, that's different. So I love that, bro. And now, like you said, that's only allowed you to further establish yourself and further move yourself up. So the beauty of kind of your story and what I like is that you had an interest. You even had the interest more so kind of emphasized with your parents, with medicine, with seeing kind of what they did, with how business minded and oriented they were. And like you said, thank God they both run a business. That's amazing, bro. But you also recognize that it's okay to pivot from that. Whereas I can go to school for this, I can study this, I can get my master's in this. That's no small feat. As somebody who has a master's, I'll take my hat off to that. But you also recognize that, look, oh well, damn, I had a one experience with this company. I really like what they do. Let me dive into that. How do you explain to people, or how do you, what is your best piece of advice when it comes to people just being so gung ho on what they study, or being so gung ho, like you said, on what their parents want them to do, or things like that, and having to branch off? Like you, something that I speak on a lot, quite often, is how I feel like our generation is really we were the trendsetters, bro. The
Mm-hmm.
same way that 9 to 5 was traditional. Working was traditional. You just do entrepreneur, this space and things that we're in now. Some of these things we're doing are unheard of. It's so many different ways to make money now. So how do what is your best piece of advice for people out there who have that hard time kind of really finding their true interest because they're just so locked in on what they're studying or what their parents want to do for them?
I think that, my biggest advice is for people is, really take the time to get to know yourself. I think it's really easy to, especially when you're attending university, to get caught up in a regimen and a routine where you stop thinking about your future and you're only thinking about the current present. So to put myself in my shoes, I wish that I would have had this mentality that I had now when I was at ECU, because I probably would have got a minors in business. You know what I'm saying? Or got a minors in something else. But me, again, like a lot of people, doing something for somebody else, which is I'm doing this for my parents mostly. This is what they love. This is where they see me at. Most people, it's hard for them to break that curse, or not even a curse, I would say, but break that mindset, because you get into routine. You go to class, you go back home, you go back to your dorm, you go get some food, you hang out with your friends. That's why most people, when they step out of college, when they're not around that regiment, when they're not doing that routine every day, then it becomes, oh dang, I don't know what I'm about to do. What can I do? Shoot, dang, and they start feeling less than. That's when that anxiety and depression kicks in. So my biggest advice is, number one, get to know yourself early. And for the people that are our age, give this game to your little cousins, give this game to your sisters, your brothers, give this game to them now. Let them know yourself now, and realize that we all were blessed by God with so many skills, but because of the way society is aligned, we often only think about one skill, which is what normally is what you went to school for. So I tell people all the time. What do you ask when I go talk to people, because I'm also a trained public speaker. So when I go talk to people, about what they do and different things like that, I ask them, what do you do on a daily basis? That's my first question. What do you do on a daily basis? So oftentimes I go on my phone, I go on Instagram, I go on Twitter, I shop, I go to work, I go get some food, I watch TV. Then I ask the person, okay, well, what are you doing to benefit your future? And that's the hard question, because again, people are like, wait, what? I thought me going to work was me benefiting my future. No, no, no. What are you doing to benefit your future? Work is standard, right? But if you get home after work and you still hate what you do, or you're not happy with yourself, you're not building your future. You're getting stuck in that regimen. So my advice is, number one, get to know yourself. Number two, realize that you have so many skills that you haven't even tapped into. And number three, research. Like Tamara was just saying, YouTube University. Everything is on YouTube. Everything is on some platform that's going to explain to you in detail how to do this. And a lot of times it's free game. that you can then expand on yourself. A lot of times you have to pay for detailed game. So it's not a lot of people out there that are super successful that will give you super free game where they're telling you what platform they listed something on or how much they paid for this specific tool or product to get this outside source. But you can still get the free game, which is the basic game, and then do your own research to expand. So I'll give you a perfect example. Had a science back. I have a science background, like I said. My first pivot was transportation and moving, and we'll talk a little bit more later about how I kind of even expanded that and why my company is a lot different from most people's transportation companies. But after the transportation, like I said, I love to learn, and I don't like feeling stagnant. So I can know something, but I still can feel stagnant if I feel like, oh, I really know this. Now I gotta learn something else to kind of pick my brain. So one of my friends, shout out Melissa, she put me on to credit. She asked me one day, yo, what's your credit score? These are conversations that our generation needs to start having earlier than in their mid 20s. It's crazy to say this, that I didn't even realize stuff about credit until after college. That's a bigger conversation, right? On how we're set up a little bit for failure and with the education system. But that's besides the point. Her asking me that question about, what's your credit score look like? Me telling her, well, I'm trying to improve my credit, but I don't really know how. And her giving me a little bit of game. Then me doing research, I started to love it because I started to see my credit score go up, 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 up. Then I started doing research on how to get it even better. So I started researching trade lines, credit cards, advances, all these different things, business credit, all these different things that can boost your credit score up. Then I feel like I became a little more fluent and I mastered certain techniques. Then I realized, oh snap, people have got to understand that you can always make money if you know a skill because somebody else does not know that skill and they may pay to know that skill. So all these times you see all these people, they're teaching people credit and charging you $500 a class, $1,000 a class, $300 a class. Why? Because this is something that's going to impact your future. Credit, that's super important in our society. So it's nothing for somebody to see, oh snap, you can help me raise my credit by 200 points, 100 points, 50 points, and I got to pay $300. And all this sounds like a lot again to the common person, right? Common consumer, like spending $300, spending $500. But I tell people all the time, it's once you learn a skill, once you master that skill, you should want to teach it to somebody else because that lets you know that you're the master of that skill. And when you're teaching something to somebody, why not learn how to monetize teaching? And that's why I said to you tomorrow, we're in the generation that we can make money from any and everything. Right now, you can hop on YouTube. You can literally not know nothing about plumbing. Hop on YouTube, learn everything about plumbing, go practice it yourself at your home or with somebody. And then within a month or two, you're going to master that skill. Now, people don't understand. Once you know a skill, it's not just about doing that job. If you really want to expand it as much as you can and pull everything out of it, monetize every single part of that skill. So not only you going to that person's home and providing that skill, but now you can teach that skill to somebody else. How many barber colleges came out of somebody just being a barber and realizing, oh snap, I can teach people how to cut just as good as I can. You know what I mean? How many real estate courses are being taught around? How many credit courses are being taught around? How much just even personal finance courses, how to better yourself as a human being, people are paying, right? So again, people got to understand you can learn a skill. And it's even better that you learn a skill because most of the times when you learn a skill, you're learning something that you actually like and want to do because you're choosing, right? Instead of it being college, how you kind of feel like you're being forced to join this major, it's too late, you can't switch. You're choosing to take this time to do this research. So most of the time, it's something that you actually enjoy or want to do. So again, overall, my advice again is just don't be scared to learn a skill. Don't be scared to monetize that skill. Don't be scared to reach out. And my biggest advice is network, network, network. Oh my goodness. You'd be surprised how many times I see people not network. And I'm thinking to myself, does it hurt you to have a conversation? Does it hurt you to say, hey, how you doing? I tell people all the time, everywhere I go, there's a couple of things I keep on me. So this is nuts, free game. So I keep my business flyers on me. I keep my business cards on me. They're in my car right now. I keep my business cards on me. Why is that? Because you never know who you're gonna run into. So many times I've ran into somebody off the random. And this is why I tell people God is great, because once you start working, and when I say working, it's not going to work. Once you start working yourself, working your mind, pushing your limits, you're going to start getting blessed when you don't even think about it. So it's so many times where I'm chilling, I go out, I might not even be in a business setting. I walked into Sheets, I'm paying for my gas. Somebody's in line, I see something on them. Hey, I like that. A lot of times people don't even give people compliments to start conversation. Hey, I like that hat. Where you get it from? Matter of fact, I'll give y'all a perfect example. I went in the Sheets a year or two ago. I saw somebody's shirt. It had their business logo on it. I said, "Yo, that's a nice shirt. I like the way that's centered, and I like the way the shirt looks like it's good material." They said, "Oh yeah, one of my friends, he prints shirts. Matter of fact, let me give you his contact information. Let him know that I reached out to you." Got his contact, reached out to him, got a discount because of that mutual random connection. Right? So that's all the time. That's what networking is. Networking is not being scared to talk to somebody, whether you know them or not, whether they seem interested or not, whether they're in business or do what you do or not. Because again, you never know when you're gonna need that skill.
Man, that authenticity will really take you a long ways, bro. I can't tell you that. Just in the time that I've had this podcast, just a lot of the people who I've been able to connect with, who just off the strength of me having the interviews, just off the strength of mutual friends, people telling them how just professional and things went and how they really enjoyed this experience. How now people want to do giveaways with me. How people have given away hundreds of dollars of their
Ooh.
products for free. How I told them, well, typically, I'd love to, cash you out or support or just let me know what I need. No, you good. It's with just for the people. So it really just goes to show the power of just talking sometimes, not even forcing anything. It could be a simple hey, how you doing, and you never know what can really come from that. Somebody always it may not be something that's immediate. It may not be something where they utilize your service right then and there. They may even lose the business card at first, misplace it or something like that. But like you said, word of mouth has a funny way of traveling, man. And when you just doing things for you, when you really doing this because this is what you want to do because you love it, your passion is there, the blessings will never miss you, man. I swear. It may feel like that timing is everything. So it may feel like you're not getting things as quick as you want it, or you might have put in a lot of work and maybe the effort or the reward didn't necessarily reflect that. It's not your time yet. It's okay, but that shouldn't stop you from still wanting to put in that work any hard, because you going if you did put in that work and you got blessed, I bet you do it again. So
Oh yeah.
you gotta keep that mindset no matter. The same way you approach the sunny days and the days where the rain and it's everything like that, you gotta approach the storms the same way. You gotta go even harder with the storms. And when things look good, when everything feels copacetic, you don't get stagnant, you don't get content. You go that much harder. You do it again. You up the ante a little bit. You diversify something. So when it comes to diversification, something you touched on was, Martin&Stella LLC is not like the rest of these moving companies out there. Why is that?
Yeah, man, and I'm glad you asked that. So, what makes my company a lot different is uh, we're one of the only, if not the only, last time I looked, we're the only 24-hour moving and transportation company. 24 hours. So that means it don't matter what time you get into town, we're gonna make a way. Also, we're not just local; we're regional. So when you think about transportation, people think, oh, local or moving somebody from here to here. No, when my clients have been to Colorado, California, Michigan, I've had clients even come in from out of town into town, and it's not just moving. We provide labor. So somebody already has a truck, they already got it loaded in. Let's say, for example, somebody lives in Michigan, they already got it loaded up in Michigan, but they're coming into North Carolina. They just need to get the labor, have guys pull up to their house. We can do that too. So that separates us a lot because we don't. And I tell this is another advice, another free game is do not put yourself in a box. You can do so many things within your one business. You do so many things. So another thing that separates my company is that we're not just residential moving or transportation. So to people out there that aren't as affluent with the jargon that I speak of when I say when I say we're not just into residential, we're doing commercial. Is that residential is you live in a home, you live in an apartment, You need to move out. You hire a moving company. They move you from your home to your new home. That's residential. Well, we took it a step further as a company is that we became commercial. So another free game, go out there and walk the pavement. A lot of people are scared to walk that pavement and go take yourself and go to these businesses and talk to them. So with me, what I did was, I went downtown to speak to these bars. I went to these fitness, these gyms to speak to them. I did research on all the new businesses coming into town. I may be giving a little bit too much game at this point. I don't know, because no. But look, I went to these places, and I basically, talked to them about my company and basically let them know, look, I'm here to provide a service for you. I'm not looking for the money. I'm looking to do good business, and I will worry about the money later. So a couple of times I did jobs for free just to get my name out there, just because it's you guys must think we're a great business if you want to provide this for free, and it's because when you believe in yourself, it's not about the money all the time. So going to these commercial spaces and asking them what they need, and I tell people all the time, transportation is so big that you don't have to put yourself in this box. So for example, look at any and everything. Look at any and everything that you guys see and realize that you can quickly turn that into transportation. So I said to say, you walk into a business, right? You walk into, let's say, for example, you walk into a bar. You don't even think to yourself, somebody brought this couch in here. Somebody brought these bar stools in here. Somebody brought this decor in here. But that's what I think about. That's what I think about. I'm thinking, they paid somebody to bring this in here. This didn't come with furniture. You know what I mean? I go to these new buildings, these new residential buildings, these new residential spaces, these new skyscraper spaces, and I walk into them. I look around. I said, "This is empty," but I know in a couple months it's gonna be filled with couches, beds, desks, all this. So why can't you find a way to bring that, monetize that, and bring some of that profit towards you? So it doesn't matter if you want to start a lash company, if you want to start a hair company, go to a company, go to somewhere that's already doing the same thing, and just sit down and observe, literally sit down and just peep what they do, and go up and talk to the CEO, talk to their manager, and ask them, basic questions, detailed questions that can benefit you as a person. You know, so going to these commercial spaces and talking to these owners and realizing that there is a need for some type of labor. It may not be necessarily transportation, right? It may not be necessarily they need somebody to bring this material, this product, but they may need labor. And it's weird and funny how God works because, as y'all know, there's a labor shortage, right? So that's another free game. There's a labor shortage. If you could find a way to provide labor for somebody during this labor shortage, you can eat. You can eat for sure. But one of the reasons why there's a labor shortage is because people are realizing that they're worth more than what they were currently getting paid. So that's why you see these many places, their hourlies is crazy. Now, when somebody says when somebody says 7 an hour, they'll look at you crazy. But what, 3 years ago, that was the minimum wage. 7.50 an hour was standard minimum wage. Now, it's like 10, 11, 12, 13, 25, 30. So I said to say, like, realize the market and realize what's good and what's not good. And pay well. Don't just look at the money. And realize a lot of times too, I tell people this is that you could do so much within what you're already doing. So don't get stuck in doing the same thing every day. I love doing different things all the time. That's why I'm involved in so many things. I love being able to do this 1 second, then pivot and do this 1 second, pivot and do this 1 second. For me, that makes me very happy. I'm very, very happy. So yes, so in overall, what makes my company different is that we're 24 hours. We just don't deal with residential. We deal with commercial spaces, and we're not just where we are. We're regional. So we're not just in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're not just in Durham, North Carolina. We're not just in Rocky Mount. Fayetteville. Even as far as the Outer Banks, my guys will go anywhere. I will go anywhere. My company will go anywhere because at the end of the day, what do they say, right? Money talks, right? So Why would you need to stop yourself, from something because you never did it before? I remember the first time that somebody asked me, and this is before we became regional. I remember the first time somebody asked me, "Hey, I'm actually moving to Michigan. Would you ever?" And this is somebody that I moved into their home. They said, "Would you? Do you guys ever, move people out the state?" At that time, no, we didn't. But I said, well, that's something I'm thinking about doing. Let me see. I'll get back to you. I tip all the time. That's when you start outsourcing, start making these calls, start doing this research because somebody is doing or has done what you want to do. So I call companies. Hey, how much would you guys charge to pick up from this spot? Like I realized that I could figure out the labor part. I could figure out somebody that's going to be able to come and help me, or find two guys that's going to go help them do the moving part. I just couldn't do the driving part. I didn't have a truck that could go to Michigan at the time. So I call these other transportation companies. Yo, what's your prices? How much would you cost here? I locked in a price. Then of course I already had how much I was going to pay my guys. Then simple. Now you know how much everything's going to cost. Now you know how much you're going to profit. Now you can go back to that person and say, "Hey, actually I can do this for you. This is how much it is." And most of the times when somebody has spoken to you directly, they're going to go with you. People often hate calling 5 or 10 different companies to get a quote. If they call you, never say never. I tell people all the time, a lot of people mess up because they'll get a call and the person will ask them something that their company currently doesn't do. And they'll say, "Oh, no, no, we don't do that. I'm sorry." And then get off the phone with them. Why would you say nah? Why would you say sorry? When that's a moment for you to realize that you can expand. Wow, you know what I'm saying? So I tell people them, do not say no. You know what I'm saying? Do not say no. You can find a way and you will find a way because there's people out there doing the same thing you did.
Man, I look at the intricacies of how you conduct business, and you're literally the definition of work smart, not hard. And I love that, just because, like you said, a lot of times we eliminate ourselves before we even get our foot in the door, man. Like you said, sometimes we're just so quick to say, "Oh no, we don't have that service, or we don't have that product," and we just
Exactly.
automatically think that that's it. When, like you said, sometimes we don't recognize that there are so many different avenues and ways to pivot within our own environment and within our own business and with what we do currently. Sometimes it just takes taking that step back and not looking at what you're doing directly on a day to day, but what you could be doing. I had to do that with the podcast. I said, look, I can't keep dropping episodes. Like, that's okay. That's fine. I can keep making these graphics and things like that, but that's only going to keep one crowd. How do I generate more? How do I make people excited about this? How do I make people, what would excite me if I'm going to somebody's podcast page and look, let me first start by looking at the podcast that I'm interested in. What are they doing? Why am I interested in them? Why do I keep returning to these pages? Why do I keep returning to these episodes? Yes, in part it is because of who they're bringing on, who they're able to talk to, but in part
Right.
it also is because of how they diversify themselves, how they brand
Right.
themselves, how their content just doesn't look the same. How do you go to your page and there's so many different, just different things that you can do and everything like that. So
Right.
what that also makes me think of is, okay, I know a lot of people out there. I know a lot of people in different states and things like that. So
Mhm.
now that y'all know that his company is 24/7, now that y'all know that they're not defined to a specific location, tap in. Let's
Oh
make
yeah.
something shake. Let's make something happen, because, like you said, as soon as he said 24 hours, my jaw kind of dropped. Like, whoa, I never really heard that before from a moving company. I haven't used many moving companies, but I know they operate just from, like you said, calling around, getting quotes and things like that. They operate within certain hours, certain time frames, and things like that. And sometimes, depending on when you want to do certain things, it could cost you a little bit more than another time. So that's different, man. That's very different. But I'm excited, just to see how that continues to expand. Because, like you said, you're always thinking ahead. And something I get from you is that, you're not really looking to settle in a sense. And I think that
Nope.
that's so important, because there's so much that you can do here. There's so much that you've already done. And like you said, you're going downtown now. You're putting yourselves in these situations and asking things and thinking different. And that's like you said, as a business owner, how many people are really thinking about, oh, how can I get in these bigger businesses? Oh, how did this furniture get here? Oh, how did things
Yep.
different? Like, think about your craft. Thinking, this is to anybody. Think about what you do, what you sell, what you offer, what you have to, give to people if you were to come on here and just speak to us, or if somebody asked you to, what do you do? Think
Definitely.
about what you truly do. Think about what you're doing. Think about how much you're thinking outside of that, though. How much are you really diversifying yourself? Are you really just content with your sales now, with the money that you've made, with the clientele that you have, with how you're promoting yourself, how you're branding yourself? And if you are, cool, that's okay. Not to say you're doing anything wrong, but think a step further. That's something that Sheridan has definitely even lit a fire under me a little bit tonight. When I get off this interview now, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do differently for the podcast? How can I get myself in these windows? Why am I not talking to radio stations? Well, I always keep saying that I want sponsorships, I want brands, I want people to, pay for this and support this. Well, what am I doing? I'm not reaching out to these brands. I'm not making marketing campaigns. I don't have a one page or somebody who's just to ask me for something. What can I give to them? What can I show? What can I, my content is there most definitely. But what about the professional side of things? What about, when the cameras are off, when things are like that, what work am I putting in to really make sure that my craft is constantly and always elevating, man? So in Sheridan, it really sounds like, you're putting in a lot of work, you're putting in a lot of time, and most importantly, you're taking care of your people.
Oh yeah.
CEOs, important folks, they don't realize that, I'm gonna translate this: happy wife, happy life, but happy worker, happy company, man. Like you don't understand that as a CEO, you're gonna make your money. You've already made your money. You're in that
Yep.
position. At the end of the day, you're in control. Do
Yep.
you realize that the people directly below you have to want to be there? Have to, because especially in this day and age, nobody wants to work.
Yep.
At least not in a job. It's so many different. I was looking at remote opportunities the other day. I'm happy with my job, but it was just like, dang, if I could, take a step back and work from home, who wouldn't, and still
Yep.
get paid, and maybe even get paid a little bit more? Why would I not? So, as a CEO, as somebody in these positions, why would you not want to keep people around? Do you not recognize that the money that they're making for your company, the more that they want to stay there, the more that you maybe promote them or treat them well, or just take care of them, or focus on mental health, or really genuinely just show that you care about them? They're going to better your business. They're going to want to continue to come to work. If you incentivize them, they're only going to continue to put in more work for you and your company. Well, that sounds like to me, more benefit means more money.
Oh
More
yeah.
money means more opportunities. More opportunities means more expansion to make more money ultimately. So whereas no, you don't headhunt for money, you still treat people right. You still recognize that, at one point you weren't a CEO.
Exactly.
How would you, or would these be I'm big on like flipping the script. People hate when I do this, but I do it a lot with customer service people. I
Mhm.
call people, I'm just like, look, our Wi-Fi went out last night. We're talking to the lady on the phone. We're asking her, we're saying, so you're telling me that between Saturday and Monday, the only thing that we can get is an appointment for Monday?
Right.
But you also just told me that 20 other people in the area had the outage too. So why is this not a precedent for y'all? Why is this not important? I said, what happens when we work from home tomorrow and we have to clock in? What am I supposed to tell my boss? What am I supposed to tell my company? I said, you said that basically there's a delay. You guys are understaffed. You guys are overstaffed. Honestly, ma'am, that has nothing to do with me. Because as a company, we were able to get an appointment on Super Bowl Sunday. How?
Mhm.
But now you're telling me I got to wait an extra day. But I don't have to. But when it comes to that payment coming out, it's never an understaffed or a shortage when it comes to that. Y'all take that thing out early sometimes.
Yep.
Holiday, weekend, it doesn't matter. It always comes out. So no, the energy always has to translate and convert just the same, bro. So before I get into the social media, before I really allow people to, pick your brain, utilize your services. You dropped a lot of free games. Like I said, honestly, after this, I feel like I'm gonna have to get my notepad when I'm going back to listen to this. I'm gonna start my own moving company now because you done gave it up, bro. And now I'm gonna bring this to Tampa. We're gonna make something happen. We're gonna make it work. So, but no, I definitely do feel like you dropped a lot just from the credit, just to how, to propel your business to really get you in there. Do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched on today? Anything that you want to leave for, the other business owners, the other entrepreneurs who will tap into this episode, or anything you just kind of want to even talk about as we look, for the rest of the year? We're just hitting Q2. It's still a lot of promises. It's very early, but time will definitely go fast. What can we also look forward to for you and your company?
Yeah, for sure. Just to answer your first question, any more game? Something else I definitely want to let people know is look for joy. Look for joy, not happiness. I think a lot of people that when they get unhappy or get sad, they get discouraged. I tell a lot of people, a lot of times you're not going to be happy at first, but you got to fall in love with the grind. You literally have to fall in love with the grind, with knowing and believing in yourself. A lot of people, you get sad, then you get discouraged, then you stop doing what you said you was going to do. You had a list this month. The same list is the same list the next month. The same list is the same one the next month after that. So I took the time, write it down. I'm very, very big on writing stuff down and putting something to a pad. I'm very big on it. I think that that's a lost art. right? With as generations increase to technology focus, I think that when you write something down, it helps you commit it to memory. Because when you think about it, how do you learn to read your language? How do you learn to write your language? Is putting it down on a piece of paper and saying A, making that B. As you're doing that, it's committing it to memory. So I tell you, write down your goals and execute them, but make sure they're realistic. How people mess up is that you tell them create a list. They say be successful. It's either something general or it's something too far down the line, whether it's make $1 million this year. Now you know you're not making $1 million. Now you know you're not gonna make $1 million this year. So I tell you, be realistic with your goals. Don't set some crazy goals. Set realistic goals and make it monthly. I'm actually big on daily. A lot of times that's hard for people because a lot of people are on the move a lot. But even do weekly goals that you can check off. Whether it's I made a call to this company to realize what's going on. Checked it off. I set reminders on my phone constantly. I think people forget that we're a technology generation, right? So it's nothing. I will go past. I will have an idea in my mind. I think this is another thing people mess up. They get an idea in their mind and they forget to put it down, to commit it to memory, or to remember it. So it just passes by. Oftentimes, you think about an idea, tell your phone. I say, "Hey Siri, remind me to do this research at this time." My Siri just came on. I'll be like, "Hey Siri, remind me to do this at this time, on this date." Simple. Now, what's the excuse? There's no you can't say, "Oh, I didn't remember." No, you chose to not remind yourself. And nowadays, you don't have to remind yourself. We got technology to do that for us. Alexa, Siri, iPhone, Android, whatever it may be. Also, another piece of game is advertise your brand. Advertise, advertise, advertise. If I realized at this stage, and all of us have hindsight bias, right? Where we're like, I wish I would have done this earlier. We all have that because at the end of the day, especially once you fall in love with something, it's like, dang, I wish I would have been doing this earlier. You know what I mean? But fall in love with your craft, do that research, and realize what in that craft you can expand on for the future, right? So everything can be met with something. You just haven't figured it out yet. And don't be scared to fail. That's another gem. Do not be scared to fail. A lot of people are so scared to fail, so scared of being judged, so scared of this, so scared of that. Don't be scared to fail. I remember the first time I printed out my flyers. So I have so many business flyers. I have like thousands of business flyers of different names on them, different designs. When I first made my business flyers, they were huge. They were like the size of a paper, like a piece of actual paper. Because I thought that's what a flyer was supposed to look like, right? But then talking to different people in different industries, which is again what I tell people to do: talk to people in every industry because every industry is going through similar things. Every industry does marketing, every industry does design, every industry does these things. Somebody tell me no, like shorten it out. Y'all see, this ain't much bigger than my hand. You know what I'm saying? Shorten it out. This ain't much bigger than an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. Shorten it out. You know what I'm saying? Makes it easier for people to also transport, right? Get them business cards, like I said. Also, one thing I want to also touch on is when creating a business, a lot of people get stuck on the name. That's another thing. A lot of people, I see a lot of people wait like 3, 4, 5 years before they start a company because they can't think of the name. They think to themselves, "Oh, it has to be catchy." Yes, of course you want something catchy. Everyone wants something catchy. But at this point, it's 2022. How many years of business has it has been since the beginning of time? There's only so many catchy sayings, so many catchy phrases. It's so many catchy things that you could come up with that somebody else hasn't already came up with. I advise people to go on the Better Business Bureau, go on the Secretary of State, or look up business names because you think that you came up with something, somebody already came up with it, right? They may not have trademarked it, they already came up with it. It's already an LLC, so don't get caught up in the name. That's what even happened with me at first. I got caught up in, oh, let me write down the first 5 names that come to mind that's catchy. Then let me go take it to these people to see if they love it. Then let me come back and I don't know. You know, Martin and Stella wasn't the name of my company at first. Martin and Stella came from me, which a lot of people also need to realize. What brings you joy? What makes you happy? What do you love? When I settled down on the name, which at first, which wasn't Martin and Stella, I sat down. I said, that's a good name and all, but it don't hit. You know what I'm saying? If you start a company, if you own a company, whatever the name is, it should hit you. You should love it. Like I'm pretty sure, R.P. Steve Jobs. But I'm pretty sure when he says Apple to himself, he probably loves that. Like, yeah, Apple. You know what I mean? So, with me, I sat there and I said, I don't know if I really love this name. It's catchy, but I said, I started thinking about my parents because that's their names. I said, you know what, Martin and Stella. I like that. I kind of like how it comes out there. Martin and Stella. Okay. It's personable. It makes people kind of think of where this come from. Makes people kind of think of, what's going on with this? What type of company is this? So, don't get caught up in the name because then after that, once you start doing good business, people don't care about the name. Apple could have been called Pear. I bet you money. After the first couple years of great business, people don't care what the name is. They care about the great product, right? So you're the product. Your business is the product. The name, don't get caught up in the name. You're the product. To make sure you do great business with a great product. Um, you know, and then the second half. Oh, yeah. And so the second half of what you're saying as far as where I see this company later down the line, my company and how everyone can tap in. If you're in the North Carolina area and you're looking to get moved, look at my company, Martin&Stella LLC. We're also on Groupon. I'm very proud to say that we're on Groupon, which is a very big, platform that gives deals to people. But we're on Groupon. Look us up, Martin&Stella LLC. We're on Facebook. Look us up, Martin&Stella LLC. Call us at our business number, 919-635-0595. Even if you just want to get some information about our pricing, or do we go here, or do we do this? So where I see this company later down the line is that I see this company as, the number one or one of the top transportation companies in the world. The reason why I said that is because of what Tamar said of, I don't hold myself to a box. Everything I look at, I can transform into transportation. Any and everything. I've gotten, of course, like we were just talking about, once you master something, you can see that in everything. And it almost is annoying sometimes. You're like, oh my God. People know what I'm talking about. When you love something, you love talking about it. And sometimes you get to knowing the people that you're around, like, oh, this again, this again. Well, yes, this again. I love what I do. You know what I mean? And excuse me. And so yeah, where I see us as being one of the leading on top transportation companies, because we are not scared to go above the bar. We don't just want to set the bar, we want to go above it. I see us being in every field of transportation. So I'll give y'all an example of what I mean by every field. Not just moving decor. And again, this may be giving me a little bit too much game at this point, but it's okay. Because another advice I want to tell y'all is, once you know what you do not be scared to talk about it, because that means you're scared of yourself. You're scared of your business. You have no confidence. You think somebody's gonna snatch your idea and do the same thing and do it better than you. You should know that you do what you do best. That should be your type of confidence. And that's what I say you should learn to master the skill. So again, continuing going with the game, not just commercial properties moving their decor, moving their furniture, but I want to be the company that's bringing these building materials before they start getting built. So, for example, you see these skyscrapers getting built. Somebody's bringing in that brick. Somebody's bringing in that concrete. Somebody's bringing in even in the small. Somebody's bringing in the equipment used to lift the concrete, to break the concrete, right? So when y'all on the highway and y'all see these huge 18-wheelers that's carrying these big tanks even, I want to be involved in that. When you see, even when y'all see, people renting out their cars to people, I want to be involved in. That's transportation too. You know what I'm saying? I'm already a little bit involved in that too, which, like I said, I'm involved in so much. And this interview can really last for 3 hours because I'm really involved in like 6 or 7 things. And that's why I tell people network with everyone, because you never know. I bet when we started this conversation, nobody was thought going to think that I was involved in credit building, right? People don't also, I'm also an event space liaison, meaning that I own several event spaces, but I also partner with people with their event space to bring a positive, outcome, whether it's a party, whether it's a baby shower, whether it's, what I'm saying, a wedding reception, gender reveal, what I'm saying? So tap in with me. Y'all see my header, Sheridan the CEO on Instagram. Like I said, you can go on us on Facebook, Groupon, and search Martin&Stella LLC. If you want to learn about credit, how to improve your credit, reach out to me on Instagram. If you need a space to throw a baby shower, an event space, and not just in Raleigh, North Carolina, anywhere you are in North Carolina, what did I say? I can make it work. You should never say no. Okay, guys? So that's my game. You know what I'm saying? That's my game. Don't hold yourself back. God gave us so many skills. Just reach in there and bring it out.
Come on now, I love that. You honestly just kind of put a bug in my ear too, just because I'm trying to moving forward, I'm looking at Raleigh, I'm looking at Charlotte for my next few events, like live events and things like that. So I've been scoping out some venues and things like that. So we definitely gonna wrap offline. But no, honestly, bro, like you said, you never underestimate anybody, man. Like when we started this, who knew that you were about the event space liaison? Who knew that you had contacts? Who knew that your company was 24 hours? Who knew that you had the game when it came to the credit and things like that? Who, like you said, we still haven't even tapped into everything. So there's still more out there that people, I challenge y'all to go get. Go find what else out he does out there, because you don't know how he could be a benefit to you. I just found out another way he could be a benefit to me just from talking to him for an hour. Like, it just takes those conversations sometimes to really facilitate and make things happen. So no, from me to you, bro, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. I appreciate, you hopping on my platform, you joining me, but you also, leaving value and bringing genuine authentic energy for my people, for my audience, for people like that. I've definitely just been in this space recently of just seeing people make connections, of just putting people in position, and it's so exciting, bro. Like how we really can work together to make things shake and make things happen, and how different people like that we went to school with or that we grew up with or things like that, just to see where everybody is involved in, man, and getting involved in, it's really a beautiful thing. So obviously, I'm wishing Martin and Stella, I'm wishing everything else that you have going on nothing but onward, upward success and a positive trajectory, bro. And I'm definitely excited, because for me, this just sounds like a follow up episode. We'll definitely be in the works.
Oh, yes.
Make some things shake. We even gonna do something, in person or something like that. So I'm excited, bro. Obviously, anything I can do to help you, to plug you in, any resource or anything like that, you got me now. We're definitely locked in, bro. So to everybody out there who continues to listen, continues to support, continues to make things happen, I need you to do two things. I need you to, one, tap in with my man Sheridan, the CEO. I'm gonna make sure I include everything in the bio. I'm gonna make sure that we get this all moving, because whether it's movement, whether it's credit, whether it's event space, I know somebody needs something. You may not need it today, you may not need it tomorrow, you may not need it next week, but you'll need it. You may even need it before the year is out. So let's make some things happen, man. And then two, just continue to tap in with us, man. Just know that, we got so much more planned. Like similar to Sheridan, my iPhone reminders is my favorite thing. So I'm always writing stuff down, always thinking of things. Live event really put a lot of perspective for me. So just watching a lot and just recognizing that it's not a lot of people in the space. I get a lot of motivation, man. I tap in with a lot of different people, but I get a lot of feedback. So one, I thank y'all for that. Keep it coming, but just stick with me, man. We got a lot coming. So this has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.